Caroline Mitchell adjusted her daughter's hair bow for the third time, her hands trembling slightly. At 32, she'd thought her days of blind dates were long behind her, especially now as a single mother to 4-year-old Lily, working double shifts as a waitress just to make rent each month. But her best friend Jessica had been so insistent, so certain that this would be different. "He's a good man, Caroline," Jessica had said. "Trust me on this one." Now, sitting in the elegant restaurant downtown, Caroline felt completely out of place. Her simple beige blouse with its delicate lace trim and her worn denim skirt seemed shabby compared to the polished diners around her. She'd braided her blonde hair to one side, hoping it looked intentional rather than hurried, which it was. Lily sat beside her in a cream-colored dress that Caroline had found at a thrift store, the little girl's brown curls falling softly around her face as she colored quietly in her activity book. Caroline checked her phone again. The reservation was under the name Thomas Whitmore. Jessica's cousin had arranged everything, or so she'd been told, but something felt wrong. This restaurant was too upscale, too refined. Jessica knew Caroline's situation. Why would she set her up at a place where a single appetizer cost more than Caroline spent on groceries for a week? A man approached their table, and Caroline's breath caught. He was striking, probably in his mid-30s, with dark hair styled with care and strong, handsome features. His charcoal suit fit him perfectly, the kind of tailoring that spoke of serious money. He moved with quiet confidence, the way people do when they're accustomed to being in charge. "Caroline?" he asked, his voice warm but slightly uncertain. She stood quickly, almost knocking over her water glass. Yes, but I think there's been a mistake." He smiled, and something in that smile made her heart skip. It wasn't just that he was handsome. There was kindness there, a gentleness that seemed at odds with his polished appearance. "Thomas Whitmore," he said, extending his hand, "though most people call me Tom. Mr. Whitmore, I really think Jessica must have mixed something up." Caroline felt her cheeks burning. "I'm not the girl you were supposed to meet." Tom tilted his head, studying her face. "You're Caroline Mitchell, aren't you? Jessica's best friend since college? Works at Miller's Diner?" "Yes, but—" "And this must be Lily." He crouched down to the little girl's level, his expensive suit forgotten. "Hi there." "That's a beautiful picture you're coloring. Is that a butterfly?" Lily looked up shyly, then nodded. "It's for my mommy." "Because she likes pretty things, but we can't buy them." Caroline wanted to disappear. "Lily, sweetheart." But Tom just smiled again, that same gentle expression. "I think that's wonderful. Homemade gifts are always the best kind." "Please," he gestured to their chairs. "Won't you both sit down?" Caroline remained standing, her hands twisting together. "Mr. Whitmore, I really need to explain. Jessica told me she was setting me up with her cousin's friend. Someone normal. Someone who wouldn't mind that. I have a daughter and work long hours and still can't seem to get ahead. Not someone like you. Someone like me?" His expression was genuinely curious, not offended. "Jessica said your name was Tom. She didn't mention the Whitmore part. I didn't realize until I got here and saw the reservation that you were Thomas Whitmore. The Thomas Whitmore who owns half the commercial real estate in the city, who was on the cover of Business Journal last month. I saw your picture in the waiting room at my dentist's office." Tom's smile turned slightly rueful. "Guilty as charged. But I'm still just Tom. And Jessica told me you were smart and kind and had a beautiful daughter. She didn't mention you were also honest to a fault." "This isn't fair to you," Caroline pressed on, her voice dropping lower so Lily wouldn't hear. "I'm 32 years old with a 4-year-old, daughter and no college degree. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment and I use coupons at the grocery store. My ex-husband left before Lily was even born. I have nothing to offer someone in your position." The restaurant hummed quietly around them, the clink of silverware and murmur of conversation creating a backdrop to this uncomfortable moment. Tom stood there, his hands in his pockets now, his expression thoughtful. For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then he pulled out a chair. "Please," he said simply, "sit with me. Have dinner. If at the end of the evening you still think this was all a mistake, I'll respect that. But give it a chance. Give me a chance." Something in his voice, in the genuine hope there, made Caroline sink slowly into her chair. Lily immediately scooted closer to her, always seeking that comfort of her mother's presence. Tom sat across from them, and a waiter appeared with menus. Caroline opened hers and nearly gasped at the prices. She closed it quickly. I'm not very hungry, actually. Would Lily like some chicken fingers? Tom asked, his attention on the little girl. Or maybe pasta? I hear the mac and cheese here is exceptional. Lily's eyes lit up. Real mac and cheese? Not from the box? Tom laughed, a genuine, warm sound. The real deal. With extra cheese if you want. Over the next hour, Caroline found herself gradually relaxing. Tom ordered thoughtfully, making sure to include things Lily would enjoy, never making Caroline feel embarrassed about her daughter's presence. He asked about Caroline's work, and really listened when she talked about the regular customers at the diner, the way old Mr. Patterson always left her a $5 tip even though he clearly couldn't afford it, or how Mrs. Chen brought her homemade dumplings on Fridays. You talk about them with real affection, Tom observed. Most people complain about their jobs. You talk about yours like it matters. It does matter, Caroline said quietly. Not the job itself, maybe, but the people. Some of them are so lonely that 15 minutes at my table might be the only conversation they have all day. How could that not matter? Tom nodded slowly, something shifting in his expression. My father started our company when I was Lily's age. He worked 18-hour days, built everything from nothing. When he died 3 years ago, 1,000 people came to his funeral. And you know what I realized? I couldn't remember the last real conversation I'd had with him. We talked about business, about strategy, about expansion, but not about things that mattered. The vulnerability in his voice surprised Caroline. This wasn't what she'd expected from a CEO, from someone who lived in a world so different from her own. I'm sorry, she said softly. That must have been very hard. It was, it still is. He paused, watching Lily carefully arrange her remaining pasta into patterns on her plate. Jessica told me you were looking to get back into school. That you wanted to finish your degree? Caroline felt that familiar ache of deferred dreams. Eventually. When Lily's older, when I've saved enough. I was studying art history before I got pregnant. Not exactly practical, but I loved it. Learning about how people throughout history have tried to capture beauty, to make meaning out of life. She shook her head. It seems silly now. It doesn't seem silly at all, Tom said firmly. It sounds beautiful, important. They talked through dessert, through coffee. Lily fell asleep with her head on Caroline's lap, clutching a chocolate-stained napkin. The restaurant began to empty around them, but neither seemed to notice. Tom told her about the pressure of running a company. He'd inherited rather than built, about board members who saw him as too young, too soft, about nights spent alone in a penthouse apartment, surrounded by expensive things that meant nothing, about the loneliness of always being Thomas Whitmore, CEO and never just Tom person. Caroline told him about the fear that kept her awake at night, wondering if she was enough for Lily, if her daughter would resent her someday for the things they couldn't afford, for the absent father, for the tiny apartment and the second-hand clothes, about the guilt of wanting something more for herself, when she should be grateful for what she had. You know what I think? Tom said finally, his voice gentle in the near-empty restaurant. I think Jessica is smarter than both of us. She knew exactly what she was doing. What do you mean? She told me you'd try to talk your way out of this date. That you'd be convinced someone like me couldn't possibly want to be here. He leaned forward slightly. But she also told me that if I could just get you to stay, to really talk to me, I'd understand why she's been trying to set us up for 6 months. Caroline's eyes widened. 6 months? She's persistent, your friend. Kept telling me I needed to meet someone real, someone who understood what actually mattered in life. I kept putting her off, making excuses. Work was busy. I wasn't ready to date. The usual things. He smiled that gentle smile again. Then she showed me a picture of you and Lily at the park. You were pushing her on a swing and you were both laughing. And I thought, when was the last time I laughed like that? When was the last time I felt something real? Caroline felt tears pricking at her eyes. This can't work. You have to see that. We're from completely different worlds. Are we? Because from where I'm sitting, we're both just people trying to figure out how to live meaningful lives. You do it by caring for your daughter and being kind to lonely customers at a diner. I do it by, well, honestly, I'm not sure I do it at all. Maybe that's what Jessica saw, that I needed someone to show me what actually matters. Lily stirred in Caroline's lap, mumbling something about butterflies. Caroline stroked her daughter's hair, her mind racing. This didn't make sense. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. Wealthy, handsome CEOs didn't fall for struggling single mothers over chicken fingers and childhood dreams. But looking at Tom's face, at the hope and loneliness there that mirrored her own, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, real connection didn't follow the rules she'd always assumed. "I should probably get her home," Caroline said softly.